All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I'm Vinay Dora from the Thai Bangalore team, and we work closely with the AWS EdStart community and team. Thank you all for joining in. We have a fantastic session lined up. Just a bit of brief about what we do, right? At Thai Bangalore, in collaboration with AWS EdStart, along with the special interest group, we aim to promote, foster entrepreneurship. We have thought leaders and mentors including we have had these unicorn founders. We have had unicorn founders like Baiju Ravindran, Ashwin Tamera of Eruditus. We have had Vamsi Krishna of Vedantu, who have all joined us. Many of you will also be knowing about our EdTech cohort. We've shortlisted 10 to 15 startups whom we are working with closely around industry connects, investor introductions, customer connects, and even the larger innovation-led ecosystem. We have recently had a closed-door mentoring session, and thank you all for joining us for that. With this, I would like to do a brief introduction of the speakers that we have today. We have some fantastic speakers. They're doers, they're entrepreneurs, and they're thought leaders in their own way. We have Nitin Gulani, who is the SVP as Baiju's the group strategy. He has, he's launched Akash. He's involved with Baiju Akash, and he's delivered some tremendous growth through his various things. We have Santosh Kumar, who's the CEO and founder of 21K School. Santosh has been reimagining the way how learning and development is done, and he's a thought leader in terms of the future of education. We also have with us Revant Konkanachi. He's the head of engineering at NextWave, and he understands the various technology growth hacking tools. And I think we will keep this light, engaging, and we will try and take a lot of questions from you, the audience. With this, I'd like to do a quick round of introductions. So, Santosh, would you like to introduce yourself in a minute or so?
Yeah. Hi, Tim. So this is Santosh. I'm the CEO and co-founder at 21K School. We are the first online school in India and one of the largest. Right now, we have students from 74 countries studying with us. And nice to be, talking to you.
Great. And Revant, I see you next.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So this is Revant here. I head the engineering team here at NextWave. So at NextWave, our primary focus is, to give career-oriented coaching for software developers who are getting started into the software development career. And we have, already worked with more than 1,000+ companies till now, where our alumni are, working in these companies. Yeah, and good afternoon, everyone. Yeah.
Over to you, Nitin.
Sure. Thanks, Vinay. Thank you for your kind introduction, and a very warm welcome to all of you here today. Thank you for joining in. I am Nitin. I am a senior vice president with the Baiju's strategy team. At Baiju's, I used to run the Akash Baiju's digital business. Just for everybody's benefit, Akash was one of the largest acquisitions that we at Baiju's did for nearly $1 billion. Pre-acquisition, Akash was primarily a brick and mortar setup. Today, it's a hybrid digital-first organization. The digital business that we inherited was close to about 20,000 students about 2 years back pre-acquisition. Today, we have scaled it up to about 120,000 students. So we've had a 6x growth in about 2 years. From like 100 to 200 crores in revenue, we are today at a run rate of about 800 to 1,000 crores. We launched our Akash app, Akash Baiju's app, which today has like nearly 10 million downloads. So today, students from every nook and corner of the country are able to fulfill their ambition and dream to become engineers and doctors, learning from the best content of Akash delivered by the Baiju's app. So look forward to the session and happy to be here today.
Great. Now, I would like to start the first question with you, right? How did you decide to launch or come up with the idea of the Akash Baiju's app? And did you do a sort of a market survey research? How did you go about doing it?
Right. So, Vinay, this is a very short question, but it has a very long answer, and I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. See, we acquired Akash primarily for 3 reasons, right? And those 3 reasons were, the test prep market in India is close to about $10 billion in TAM, right? When I say TAM, I refer to the total addressable market. This $10 billion is broadly split between $7 billion of unorganized market and $3 billion of organized market. When I say organized market, I refer to players like Akash, Allen, Fitchi, who sort of play in that market. And unorganized is basically mom and pop stores in every nook and corner of the country who are educating and teaching students to become engineers and doctors, but don't have a organized name or a brand name to themselves, right? So, for example, maybe like say somebody in Hardoi in UP, maybe teaching students for JEE and NEET, but there is no Akash Center or an Allen Center or a Fitchi Center there. Now, as you can see from these numbers, 7 billion of the market is sitting in the unorganized space. That unorganized space, one of the reasons why organized players are not there is because in an offline setup where you need a brick and mortar store for students to come in and prepare, there is a fixed cost associated with that business, and you need a certain amount of volume to be able to have a particular center there, which is where opening a center, like the unit economics of opening a center does not make sense, but there is a clear demand which constitutes this 7 billion sort of market, and which is lying in these spaces which are currently studying from these mom and pop stores, right? So which is where we thought that, that is the true market to sort of capitalize on. And now to reach that market, I mean, in a country with internet penetration hitting the roof, we felt that launching the app is the best way to reach to that market, and which is how we took that decision. And all of this was done pre-acquisition, because this was our entire hypothesis of scaling up Akash to where it is now, post-acquisition, and scaling up this digital business. So this is how we decided to launch the Akash app, make sure that we have Akash's content delivered by like superior technology of the Byju's app in these regions, and students are able to learn sitting at the comfort of their homes.
Right, and I think a fantastic journey. I move on to Santosh. So Santosh, I see, in fact, all the three speakers are from the IITs and ISBs and all that, but you're trying to redefine learning, right? And how are you going about trying to redefine or rethink the future of education with 21K?
So, see, the journey of 21K started with, searching for a good school for my daughter. When I lived in Dubai and traveled across the world for, so close to 20 countries. When I came back to India, the first thing I was doing is I was searching a school for my kid, right? So what I realized that if you're in a, tier 1 city, then that too in a particular hotspots only you'll find good quality schools. And with that in mind, when we did a lot of research, right, there were like there was a dearth of need of schools in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 city, which constitutes 90% of the private schools in India in specific. So I met my co-founder Yashwant, and the journey of 21K school started, where we decided in 2019 let's start something called as online school, which is not available in India, but which will actually fulfill the a very basic problem of getting quality teachers to these remote places also. Like most of the quality teachers are only in tier 1 cities. With that in mind, we launched this. We did a lot of survey. What we initially thought was it will actually fulfill the requirements of homeschooling students and also students who live outside India, like NRIs, the guys who are paying really high cost of education for schools. Like if you go to Dubai, the average good school will cost you $15,000 to $20,000, a Cambridge school. So we started this as that experiment, but back in starting from 2020, we had a cohort of 200 students, and right now we are a cohort of close to 8,000 students. So that's a kind of progress which we had. So it's basically solving the base need of getting quality teachers to the remotest part of the country and then remotest part of the world. I think that can actually in scale be solved only through online mode is what we felt. So we are a full-fledged schooling solution. We do academics, non-academics, everything all together in a single solution. So that's basically what we are.
Fantastic. I think we have a very diverse set of panelists. In fact, Revant, I see that you have built a lot of edtech products, and you're constantly learning on the kind of technology tools that one could leverage. So I'd like to understand a little bit of what kind of hands-on experience. I see you're a hands-on person, right? So how have you evolved your career through your hands-on experience with various products and companies?
Yeah, so I started. My journey is typically I started from being a software developer initially. When right after college, I was working with a startup, and then later on, I have been an engineering manager, and now I'm leading the team here. So all through this journey, a lot of things. A lot of technology comes where you build products. Generally the team, you don't build everything on your own. So in general, in SaaS, there is a concept of build versus buy, where you try to build a set of things, and then you try to start using different products across that are being developed by different leaders in the community. So most of things that are core to your product line, that is what you build. And then there are a number of things where you try to engage customers, where you try to acquire different customers and all. So that's where you try to use different SaaS products that are present in the market, and bring in coherence between the tech products that you build, as well as those that you try different tools, and link between these two things.
Yeah. So there are, let's pick 3 audience segments that many of them generally would target. One is the parents and decision makers from families. The other one is schools, colleges, right? Decision makers over there. And the third one is the student themselves. I'd like to know, how different are these audience segments, and how do you go about finding out how to target these segments? We'll do a quick round for each one of you. So I'll start with Nitin.
Perfect. So when a customer acquisition specifically for the segment that I take care of, in my segment, the customer is actually both the student and the parent, right? While it's a mature consumer, for smaller grades, because I'm talking about grades 11, 12, and 13. I mean, somebody who's a dropper engineer or a doctor student. So at least for my segment, the consumer is both the parent and the student, right? And customer acquisition specifically for my business basically is a function of 2 axes, right? Because I try to acquire customers via getting them to download the Aakash app, and I also try to acquire customers to get them to visit my Aakash website. Right. So there are 2 ways in which I'm acquiring customers. The objective function remains the same, that cost of acquisition has to be optimized significantly across both these streams. But there are 2 axes in which we are acquiring customers. Now, the interesting bit is that when the app comes in, on the app, 70 to 75% of our consumers come in inorganically, which basically means I have to spend money to get them on the app. And about 20-25% or 20 to 30% comes in organically. This is completely flipped on the website, where 70 to 80% of my consumers come in organically and 20 to 30% come in inorganically. So my strategy for customer acquisition, the tools that I deploy for customer acquisition across the app and the web consequently changes.
Right. So you have different set of tools for the app, the web, and the target segment, right? How about you, Santosh? What do you have?
So see, for us, the customer actually changes based on the journey. Initially, the parents are the decision makers from kindergarten to 12th, right? The parent take a decision on which school they want to send their kids. So mostly the channel which has worked is the content, like SEO. Content is king always. The way you portray your content, the parents are searching for something new for their kids, and they read and they come to us. So if I have to say, 60% of them is paid marketing right now, because it's a very niche category which we are creating into a new thing altogether in India. Because till now in India, if you go to the US market, right, everybody knows what's an online school is all about. If you say UK, it's a very known fact. In India, it's a category creation which happens. So significantly we spend on paid also in terms of creating brand and awareness. But 30 to 40% of the students or the parents who search for such a solution, it's an organic lead for us. Now, first is to acquire. by convincing the parents. Second is to retain the student, because we have a 60 to 70% retention for every year, right? How we achieve that retention is by satisfying the students. The students have to be engaged. The students real time, they need to see value. They go and actually brag to their parents, right? This is what 21K School is providing me. So the parents is for getting the customer, and then to retain, because retention is something which we are very crazy about. Like if you don't produce a learning outcome, if you don't keep the kids engaged, or if you don't achieve a 95% attendance ratio, there is no way the students will be going to continue with you. So that's something which we work on. So both of them are customers for us, and both of the way we actually maintain them, or retain the customer to maintain our cost of acquisition at the lower point. But yeah, there is a significant amount of spend which we have for the category creation which we are doing right now.
Fascinating. I think the target that you reach out to for getting new students is the parents, and then you need to again engage the students to retain them, and that's very interesting. In fact, we did a survey amongst many of our founders through TiE, and many of them had the difficulty in being customer centric. Right? They always thought that when it came to schools, the beneficiary, the student, are the people whom they need to convince and all. But after we spoke a bit and we brainstormed, we realized that in schools, it is sometimes a director and those kind of folks who are actually your customers, not the parents, not the teachers, not the students, but the one who has the money, right? So it was a very interesting poll. So Raymond, over to you. What if you had to pick some kind of tools that you would recommend for what Nitin and Santosh had shared, right? What kind of, he mentioned SEO, he mentioned paid marketing, but if you have to pick the latest trends, what would they be?
Yeah, so in terms of tools, we have been using multiple set of tools at different stages of the customer journey. So, when it comes to initial engaging the customer, just even before he's a customer, when he's a lead, we do a several set of campaigns using tools like WebEngage, which is it's more of a marketing automation tool where you define a set of campaigns and you run them automatically, where you retarget the customers, or you send them right triggers. Say in case of NextWave, we conduct a webinar for the lead, to understand what the offering of NextWave is. So at that stage, we kind of send them frequent reminders on, it can be WhatsApp, it can be, SMS, or even in their social media channels, social media platforms as well. So this is one tool that we significantly use when we are onboarding the customers initially, and during the phase of after the customer has watched the webinar and before joining the program, again there is a set of different interactions that happen with the customer where we use different chat channels like Freshchat, Freshsales, and where we track the status of the lead as well. So that's one tool that we use, and then also to understand the customer behavior, as in how frequently they have visited the website after the sales call and all. We use Segment and then Mixpanel as well. So these are the set of tools that we predominantly use before when acquiring the customer initially.
Fantastic. But I haven't seen any of you talk about email marketing. Have things changed so much that emails aren't a big channel, or any thoughts on it?
Yeah, so the customer segment that we have, it's more of students who are just entering into college, and those who are born after 2000, to be precise, probably. So these kind of most of the students are primarily based on WhatsApp. We have WhatsApp opening its APIs, to enable communications between customers as well as businesses. So with all these things evolving, I think email has took a back step, I would say. And as well, when it comes to parents as well, most of the parents in India primarily are based out of, they don't use emails to they don't check their emails day in and day out. So in that way, customizing your campaigns as well, specific to your audience segment, is very important, is what we feel. So WhatsApp is one thing that we rely heavily on, and again, giving direct calls on telephone is also a thing that actually worked for us when compared to emails.
So just to add on to
yeah.
Yeah. So see, there is an omni-channel requirement
go on.
for everyone, right? So if you see in India, the generational gap is very high. Some age groups prefer WhatsApp, some age group still prefer email, some age groups still prefer calling and talking to you. The first sales happens on a call. After that, the communication, they generally like 70% of our communication happens in WhatsApp. So we have created an omni-channel experience with Slack. Like say WhatsApp, email, or phone, everything. It comes to our Zoho CRM and Zoho Desk, and again there is a single window system in our Slack through which we handle everything. So the tools, if you see the data in happens through various omni-channel solutions, then we actually process that, and accordingly our agents and our people actually manage the communication. But in terms of data acquisition, again it's a similar kind of solution which we use. We use Zoho extensively in terms of getting the data, putting up the analytics, and accordingly keep on churning our marketing channel. But email comes to place when we have to distribute the content. Content plays a very important role in terms of organic or growth related marketing. So once you create a content, say blog, or you create a video, you need to actually distribute it. Email is one of that channels. Like you create a newsletter, you need subscription base who actually are listening to what you're saying, right? You need to have people who are reading about education, how their kids' educations are going to change in next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So this, you have to actually keep subscribe the people to your newsletter, distribute this newsletter, and by this people will be educated, and that's how they again come back to become your customers. So email is a major channel which has been ignored by multiple companies, but I think this is like a long-term ROI. Unlike the paid channels will give you an immediate ROI. So content is a long-term business, and it's a kind of investment which people have to do. But WhatsApp has been, if you see communication wise, WhatsApp has been my excellent channel, but that's post acquisition. Acquisition wise, it's mostly over calls is what happens with us.
Yeah. And how about video marketing? I remember meeting the TikTok folks in LA a couple of months ago, and they were talking about getting founders, early entrepreneurs, because people are looking at videos and taking call to actions from there. So Nitin, do you have any insights on the video marketing front?
Yeah. So, Vinay, by the way, I actually agree with what Santosh just said. It's about an omni-channel reach to the consumer. And to your specific question in terms of email marketing, it's usually a combination of everything. It's a combination of push notification on the app. It's a combination of SMSs. It's a combination of IVR calls, or maybe call center calls, or it's a combination of emails. And, each of these means of reaching out to the consumer have their own success rates. Right. And, which is where when you look at a cost of acquiring a customer, you don't look at it with just like one channel. It's basically the cost of acquisition across all these channels that you've spent. Email at times doesn't have a very high open rate. Right. And, today there are tools in the market, and I'm sure Revant will be able to shed more light on that. But there are tools in the market which actually tell you, like, for example, CleverTap, I use it quite frequently, which tells me, if I've sent emails to my users, how many of them actually opened that email. And as a consequence, I'm then able to tailor make some communications. For example, if I know a certain cohort of users which only respond well to emails or the content that I put in emails, because as a person, they like reading versus visualizing via TikTok video, I'm able to customize that consumer and send him those sort of either push notifications, SMSs, emails, and so on and so forth. Right. I also wanted to share one more thing, Vinay. So, specifically talking about customer acquisition tools, and given a large chunk of my consumers or prospective consumers come via the app, right? Some of the tools that have come in really handy for me are like AppsFlyer, because we run campaigns which are like different across different states. So we will have a very different campaign for the southern states. We'll have a very different campaign for the northern states or for the eastern states. Now, to know which campaign is working, which campaign is getting me the maximum clicks, which campaign is getting me the most effective cost of acquisition, I think AppsFlyer comes in very handy. The Google Play console gives me a clear view of what have been my installs, what have been my uninstalls on the app, what is the rating that consumers are giving me, what sort of like handsets are they using to be able to give me comfort, and I'm able to relate to my engineering teams that, maybe on certain operating systems or certain sort of OSs, our app is crashing, the user is not having a good experience. There is a device catalog. If my uninstalls are increasing, why are they increasing? So I think the Google Play console comes in very handy there.
Right, the Google Play console tools, I spoke about AppsFlyer, and also, so you customize it based on the kind of, the audience interest. We like reading long form content, then articles, emailers, otherwise short videos, right? So we have a question around for the B2B segment, right? So many of our founders in our network are looking to target companies like yours, actually, schools and top-notch companies for potential partnerships and all of that. So, how do you think they should? What's the best way? We'll go one by one. I can start with Santosh, right? How do you think companies should approach K-12 educational institutes? Is there a way of approaching them, and does it differ approaching or selling your offering to schools in India, in states, in India and abroad, and parts of India? Right? What would your inputs be?
So there are three things on this. Timing is everything. Schools and colleges, right? If people don't know, they fix their budgets from Jan to March. So anything you want to propose, anything you want to do, you have to start your job by September, October. In 3 months, put your groundwork, create awareness, meet the right set of team. Jan to Feb or Jan to March is something where your actual closure happens. And closing always, the 95% of schools and colleges, I would say the decision maker are directors, nobody else. So this is something people should be very clear. And secondly, to create your awareness, like the director, when you're going and talking to him, they should have heard about you through any channel, maybe through Facebook, maybe through WhatsApp, maybe through their own colleagues. Those they should have heard about you. They should connect with you when you're going and pitching your product, right? So these are most of the major thing: timing, whom you're talking to, and you should have already created that awareness. As far as that is done, I think it will be very clear. And still, in corporates, at least the decision makers, there are a couple of levels where they take decisions, right? But in schools specifically, which are run by founders or which are run by directors, it's basically you have to go and meet the decision maker, and they should have heard about you, or you should do a value addition, because nowadays there are a lot of solutions coming in. Whenever you're doing a value addition to a school, every director wants something to be uplifted, right? After COVID, what they have realized, they can't operate with the old playbook. So as far as you are giving some value added services and they see value in, this is what is going to increase the output of a students, or, their channels, or their, overall perspective of the school will change with these kind of value added services, definitely, people will take.
Right. So a lot of us do have a set of, lists of schools, databases, all of that, but being able to sustain the engagement and, there are a couple of questions around CRMs, right? So Raymond, would you like to throw some light on the latest CRM tools? Because some of them talk about CRM tools being very complex and complicated. Many of the founders are very small teams, 1-2 people or 4-5 people, right? What would you recommend in terms, there's a question around Zoho, LeadSquare, and a few other tools available.
Sorry. Yeah. So when it comes to CRMs, there are quite a bit of CRMs that are common. It can be, one being Zoho, and then we have LeadSquare. We also have Freshsales, Freshteam as well. So I think any company, they have to initially start with one CRM. Try to understand the use cases. Most of the CRM companies, they come with a success manager as well, whom you initially discuss your use cases, requirements as well, and try to be hands-on with any one of it initially. See how it is working, and then you can't use the same CRM when you're at the very early stage compared to when you're a team of 100 versus your team of 1,000 people. So you have to pivot at different stages. So that's how I feel. And to start with, initially, we initially worked with Zoho, and then we kind of pivoted to LeadSquare as well. So each CRM has its own ins and outs. So you have the approach that we took is, we work closely with the success managers, or the people from the CRM team itself. Give our use cases to them and see how exactly it fits, and then move forward. It's kind of getting your hands dirty initially, see how things are working, and then pick the right one. Because every CRM on an overview level offers the same set of offerings. It's the same with any of it. But how good can they be customizable to your use case is what it will be the deciding factor.
Right. I think, and also I've got a question around corporate learning and development, and I see that Nitin has some experience in engaging corporates. So what is your takeaways from there?
Yeah, Vinay, I'll maybe just take the overarching question of B2B. And I think just building on what Santosh said, so I've tried multiple GTMs, multiple go-to markets for like going after schools, right? Because that's a very strong channel. Like B2B is a very strong channel for education. One thing that has worked out really well for me is doing seminars. I think what Santosh said was very similar, but like just summarizing all of that, like to make something useful for these directors and for these principals, I think seminars, webinars is something which has worked exceptionally well. It has the most least CAC, right? Most least CAC cost of acquiring the consumer from these seminars and webinars. So like, for example, for my segments, which is class 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th, a lot of times students, when they are in grade 10, they are unsure about whether they want to become a doctor or an engineer or a chartered accountant or maybe a pilot or I mean, like multiple avenues available, right? And it's all a function of what you learn in 11th and 12th. Of course, you can change subsequently as well. But a lot of parents and students are confused and they want to help them make that decision that time. So this is one thing where, like, for example, for each of these cohorts, for class 10th, I like very recently, like about some 6-8 months back, we did a seminar for about some 5,000 schools nationwide for students moving from class 10 to 11th, where we actually got our teams to go in and educate them. So this was a win-win for both the school and for us. So anybody who wanted to become an engineer and doctor could actually partner with us. And of course, the school was able to sort of give them some good wisdom and guidance on what should be their career options. So that is one. Second, Vinay, on in terms of the point that you talked about, that what are some of these like what do you look at when you decide a tool? There are these 5 things which have actually worked very well for us, and I'll be happy to share that with all of us here. This what Revant also said, the ability of a tool to be customizable. Because we are, I mean, we started off as a startup. We are still a startup. It's still day zero for us. We've built a lot of these systems in-house. Now, if we are getting in a new system, compatibility or customizability with our existing systems is very important, right? So that is number one. Subsequent customer service support is also very, very important. Whenever I decide a tool, I want to make sure that subsequent customer service support is strong for that tool. Third, I feel insights and reporting which come out of that tool are also very important, because the tool is not just going to, like, it has to give me customizable reports, and the reporting functionality is something which I'm very, very conscious about. Fourth, I feel that given, like, I mean, if you look at education as a sector, it's education for somebody from kindergarten to grade 3 is very different. From grade 4 to grade 10 is very different. From grade 10 to grade 13 is very different. And then grade 13 and beyond, when you get into professional learning, it's very different. So a tool which is able to actually adapt and give services across these is something also very, very important for us. And again, like, making sure that I do a trial before purchase is the 5th thing, which I make it a point to do that.
I'll just add one thing. Ours is a very kind of a different story. When we were startup, right, we were looking for something which was free in terms of usage. So we started with Zoho free as a startup plan. Then what happened? There was a lot of support provided them, though we were not paying them anything. Second year, we started paying them, and we were developers, so we actually customized it to a very deeply to our level. And now sometimes Zoho even asks us, like, because of some of your workflows, our servers are crashing. One particular night, even I got a call. So that level of customizability we got in that tool, and we just stuck to it. So it's more of, if you get hands-on with a particular tool, you will get used to it. But every CRM by default gives a lot of flexibility. And as Nabat also, like Nitin also told, reporting is very important factor of deciding anything, because if you don't have data on day in, day out basis, right, you can't use any tool. So reporting is a very important feature, and Zoho gave it to us because we customized everything to our need. So unless and otherwise, because every business is different, right? Every business needs are different. Every business KPIs are different. Every person involved in a business is different. So unless and otherwise, a CRM is very modular and it is fulfilling all your needs. You can't take it. So it's my request is, like, everybody should take a free version of it. Try it out for 3 months. If you are a hands-on developer founder, it's not a problem, but you should have at least one guy who knows to customize the CRM. And then afterwards, it's a support, and it's a kind of what you get from that solution provider. But we started with somebody who supported us when we didn't have money, and we stuck with that guy. So ours was a very different story altogether. Why we want to use Zoho, and it actually fulfills our purpose now also. Like even when we had 100 students, and we are it is fulfilling our purpose. So till it fulfills, we will be with that particular solution.
Right. I think early tools and sticking with someone who really supported you early on helps. In fact, Nitin had mentioned about the webinar aspect of it, right? How do you measure? So I want to get into the matrices part of it. When you do these experiments and take up things, how often should someone do it, and what should be their how should they go about designing their matrices?
Yeah, Vinay, should I? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just want to make sure it's for me. So, Vinay, at least when we started doing webinars and seminars, we struggled with even figuring out the topic of the webinar and seminar. Right. The good thing about doing a webinar and seminar is that at the end of that webinar, of course, it at the beginning how many people are expected to come in. And at the end of it, the actuals, how many people came in for that webinar or seminar. And more often than not, I think topic plays a very important role. Right. So I think with a lot of hit and trial, which is where I gave that example, a lot of consumers or a lot of users in grade 10 are confused about what they want to take, whether they want to go for engineering, commerce, arts, for 11th and 12th. Just educating them, I think, works very well for us. So for each of the grades, we have figured out what is it that works for that consumer. And, year after year, those are the seminars that we are doing, because the consumer keeps changing, because the cohort keeps moving one year later. So the problem statement remains the same, and you're just able to, and then, over time, we've just sort of improved the way we even deliver some of these webinars. Use of technology, getting some of the alumni to come in and speak. I think all these come in very handy to be able to make that webinar fruitful for that school, and then just you get your foot into the door in that school.
Right. Yeah. And Raymond, have you seen many people in your customer base leveraging webinars, seminars, and are they specific? Because during the pandemic, a lot of people, everybody had to go virtual and hybrid, right? And how do you, one question I see right now is how do you push a call to action in a webinar and seminar? In fact, I was going to push a call to action right now to join the community. So Raymond, over to you.
Yeah. So again, as Nitin has mentioned, the topic of the webinar is the key thing where, because webinar is something that you do it for, a wider audience segment. There are not someone who has already been a customer for you, or they're not someone who have already, known about your company in detail. So the topic of the webinar is very important. That's how, you create a personal link, personal, connect with the lead. And that's where you kind of add value to them initially, and then ask them, give them a CTA at the end of the webinar, about your product as well. So I think the topic of the webinar is very important. And also I would also highlight, as we during the pandemic, since most of the webinars have happened online, there are a lot of analytics tools that help you understand who is the right set of say for example, you have 100 audience attending the webinar. How many of them have very actively engaged with the webinar? How many of them have asked questions? How many of them have stayed till the end of the webinar? These kind of analytical information is readily available with the set of tools available in the market. So that's how you identify the right set of that's how you prioritize your leads. That's how you kind of pick the right audience as well. And also you also get the feedback of the webinars that you conduct. So for based on the engagement metrics, you also understand if the particular topic is working out. You have very objective metrics of how your webinar is working, how you can improvise on it. And yeah,
it's a very interesting question that's come here. Should you be subtle? Should you go about selling directly on the webinar, or should you use it as a way for educating people about what you do?
Yeah. So when I'll take that, I've had that dilemma a lot of times, and as we do a lot of these seminars and webinars, so at least we consciously, of course, if there is a sale that is willing to happen, we of course close the sale right there itself. But more often than not, it's more it's more an interest seminar or a webinar where you're capturing interest of people, right? I mean, you should think about a webinar or a seminar as as like any other marketing campaign, where people who sort of register with you after the campaign, they are the ones who are interested, right? Or at least, like, I mean, of course, maybe all of them are registered with you because they attended the webinar, but at the end of it, if they expressed an interest, those are basically your sort of, those become your leads to sort of go after. And, I think one of the points that Revant mentioned, how do you go about like getting these people to attend these webinars and seminars, which is where I think, at least I personally use the app a lot, right? Where we send push notifications, we send SMSs, WhatsApps, telephonies, emails, social medias to educate the consumer about some of these webinars happen. And, that also has to be leveraged in a very tactful sort of manner, because here less is more. You don't want to, you have to balance the inflow of notifications you don't have to push a lot of notifications. There has to be a balance for even inviting an audience to even attend your seminar, like sending it at the right time, the tone and tonality, if it is addressed to you as dear Vinay versus if it is just addressed to you as hi user. I think some of those things also come into play to make sure that you have a good sort of turnout at your webinar or seminar.
Right. And are they like processes and standard operating procedures? Because one thing about doing a one-off activity, like a webinar or one-off activity as a business, one school, one college, but since we also are talking about growth, right? How do you think one could, grow rapidly? Should they have a set of standard operating procedures, processes? What are your best practices that you follow, that you use for growing?
Vinay, specifically for webinars?
No, in general. Webinars is one form of offering, but in general.
Making sure that you have a right engagement tool is, I think, very important. So like I talked about CleverTap. CleverTap comes in very handy. It enables me to customize what sort of request or what sort of engagement do I want to do with a particular cohort of consumers. So I'll give a very live example. Like a consumer who's about to take the JEE examination, or the consumer who's about to take, say, an Olympiad examination. The consumer is probably in my grade 7 or grade 8, and he or she is expected to write the Olympiad examination. I am actually able to tailor make, like 3 weeks before, what communication do I want to send the consumer, because I know what he or she is revising. 2 weeks before, what do I want to send the consumer? 1 week before, what do I want to send the consumer? And some of this is applicable even for webinars and seminars as well. So for example, I have a bunch of aspirants who registered for my webinar. I'm able to customize their journey, what communication, when do I want to send it? I'll just take an analogy here. Think about Zomato, right? Every Saturday, right, or every Sunday, like Saturday evening or Sunday afternoon, I get an email, and this goes back to the point that you mentioned. I get an email from Zomato saying that I haven't placed an order, or there is this discount running in. So I think, and I'm sure that is all driven by a tool, right? For example, CleverTap that I talked about. That tool basically, like, bases the user profile, it's able to customize. Nitin is a consumer who typically orders on a Saturday evening or a Sunday afternoon. Let's consciously send him those emails. Very similar to us, like we know the consumers, like we know the ultimate outcome from that consumer. As a consequence, we're able to put that journey for the consumer in our engagement tool.
Okay. So one of the questions, in fact, we have a couple of questions. One of the questions is, what kind of mistakes have, I'd like to take this to Santosh and Revant. What kind of mistakes you have seen people make with regard to customer acquisition and the tools that they've used?
Running a paid ad without intent, without right customization or right targeting is a mistake which everybody does. We right now don't have any leverage on just doing like, let's run 10 marketing ads and which works. Otherwise, we have to be very clear on what is the intent of customer who want to search a solution which you want, and to run a very targeted segmented ads in, say, Facebook or Google. And after that, you will have a lot of high intent users. Many a times startups, what they do, Because to get an high intent users, you need to work on SEO, and SEO is a long-term investment. Like it requires 3 to 6 months at least to create that awareness and to kick it. So that is something we miss out many a times. We start running ads, and we start running other items. So that is something kind of a mistakes we need to avoid. There are a lot of growth channel. One biggest growth channel is referral, word of mouth. There is nothing which can match word of mouth, right? Your product has to be rock solid. Once you get initial 10 customers, these 10 customers have to bring 100 and next 1,000. A classical example is what Dropbox did. So once that word of mouth of your great product spreads, that's something which will, which many founders are not concentrating. They are not concentrating on the product. They generally concentrate on the marketing channels. But I would say that this is a kind of a mistake they should avoid. Even I have done that mistake. I'm not afraid of admitting that. But if we work on these lines, I think it will work. A lot of organic growth channels are there which are mostly untapped in our segment. Like content is the key. If you produce, say, for example, for us as a school, right? If you give some tools for the students to, or parents to decide which board they want to take, either CBSE, either ICSE. If you give a tool on your website, or if you give a tool on a website to understand calculate the cost of education up to grade 12, if you give a tool on a website to understand the cost of education for university, this is an organic way to attract your top of the funnel and then convert it down. So these are some of the things which people have to come out out of box thinking, and accordingly garner a lot of education is a thing where parents are not much cost sensitive, but they are more of trust factor which we need to spread with these kind of marketing things which we need to do. So this is something I feel that founders and new startups should avoid.
Great. And also Revant, the product mistakes, right? Many of them need to have a seamless experience, and since he mentioned, Santosh mentioned word of mouth and referrals, do you do a lot of A/B testing, or how do you find out where the challenge is in terms of customers, right?
Yeah, Vinay. So again, adding to the previous question as well as this. So customizing your campaigns as per your customer is very important. One very early stage mistake that we did is, we have done a lot of campaigns initially, which were designed by the team that is doing it over here. But the mindset of the thinking of a 30-year-old or a 20-year-old is very different from how this generation of students are using the social media, how they interact with the social media. So you have to think in the shoes of the customer. So that's when we did a lot of customer interaction calls to understand their mindset, and then customize the campaigns as per the need. So I think that's very important. It can be any startup can be of any stage. You have to have a lot of interaction with your customers. You have to, because there are two. I would, think of two cases. Most of the edtechs, are come under the category where the team that is building the product is not the one that is using it. Whereas when you consider Zomato or Swiggy, the team that's building the product will also use the product. So you tend to kind of diverge from what your exact customer needs, as long as, because if you don't start using it. So that gap is where we kind of cleared it out with having very frequent interactions with our customers. Understanding what's working for them. Collecting feedback, and again using a lot of tech tools, to analyze the feedback, gain insights from that, and that's very important to customize what you're doing based on your customer segment. That's where we saw a significant impact in the conversion of. It can be during acquisition, or it can be during the engagement stage as well. You have to think in terms of your end customers, understand their behaviors, and then plan your campaigns and further activity.
Yeah, Nitin, anything to add? How do you collect feedback from your target segment?
Yeah, so so what we have largely done, and I couldn't agree more with Santosh and Revant. So getting the product right is very, very critical. What we largely did for Aakash Digital, we just try to replicate the entire product or the entire experience that a student is expected to entitled in an offline world in the digital world. I'll give a very small example here. Growing up, I was a very shy student, and I would never ask a doubt in the class. I would stay until the end of the class, or maybe try to come in 5-10 minutes early. And then that's when I would clear my doubts. Now, how do you replicate something like this in a digital world, right? Even today's session, it started at about, say, 2:55. It's going to finish at about 4. Like, how do you, if somebody has a question to either three of us, and of course, I mean, the chat box is open, but typically in a live sort of educational live classes, you don't have the chat box completely open. So we replicated this by ensuring that, 30 minutes before every class, the same teacher is available, and the teacher is able to do these breakout rooms, so that if I have a question, I can come in and ask that question, right? So a lot of such experiences were replicated, and a lot of this was done because our product team actually went to the ground, went into the shoes of the consumer, to Raven's point, because most of them were either already engineers and doctors, and they haven't used this new product that we are creating, but they actually went down, experienced the life of a student in an offline sort of world, and then digitized that entire experience and further improvised it with technology, right? So yeah.
So I think experiences and replicating what we have gone through is something that and I think what Raymond had also mentioned is, when it comes to EdTech, a lot of us may not be the users of the product, unlike other products. It's important for us to find ways to. So folks, we're going to open it up for questions, right? If any of you have questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Some of you are pinging me directly, but also feel free to. In fact, one of the questions, Nitin, I can ask you is, when it comes to webinars, what kind of speakers, influencers would you want to have on your webinars?
Yeah,
that's one question that you got.
Yeah. So specifically for webinars, over time we've sort of cracked that code as well, because again, attendances, acquisition costs sort of dwindle depending on who's taking the webinar and who's taking the seminar. So, over time, we have sort of created a 10-point framework so it's usually our faculty. So it's usually our existing faculty, which works on a roster, which are the ones who are actually taking these webinars and seminars. And we've sort of ranked every faculty, because not everybody has that, say, FaceTime presence or screen presence. So you're able to, we figured out this 10-point criteria basis, which we ranked every faculty, and we figured out, these are our dedicated folks who will actually be doing our seminars or our webinars. And that's how we sort of cracked who's going to take that webinar seminar. So content, to Santosh's point, was the key. Delivery was the key. And of course, the timing is also key in my mind, like at what time of the year, what content, what is getting delivered. So till the time those three parameters are sorted, I think webinars should work.
Great. I think we will also share the takeaways from these sessions with the poster session. So all those who have attended. In fact, I see there's a couple of questions from Viper. Viper, would you like to unmute yourself and share more about the lead engagement that you've shared, your question? So there is a question from Viper, which says, how do we engage leads? Not sure if we've understood, but so basically, how do you sustain the lead? Is it? How do you?
Yeah. So maybe I'll take that. See, there are multiple ways to engage a lead. I think some of those points, Santosh and Raymond also talked about, like WhatsApp is a very good communication means to sort of engage a lead. I'll maybe talk about a live example. So think about a student who's probably in class 11, who's right now evaluating to get into, probably evaluating to become an engineer. And just a simple content or a PDF document, which just tells you what are the top engineering colleges, which engineering college has how many seats, what are the locations, what is the typical rank in a JEE examination, enables you to get into this college. This very simple content like this is a very good way to sort of engage a lead. I'm just giving one there are multiple examples like this. Videos, or like, I think Vinay, you made that point in terms of video marketing, small snippets of videos of ex-students talking about their experience in becoming an engineer or a doctor, or maybe their experience at a school. Some of this can be sent via emails, via WhatsApps, or maybe seminar communications via SMSs. All these are multiple ways to sort of engage a lead. If the lead has sort of downloaded the app, push notifications depending on the activity of the user, are like there are numerous ways to sort of engage a lead.
Right. We also have another, I think Prem Prasad has raised his hand. Prem, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks a lot for sorry, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. Actually, I wanted to know, what's the best way to actually acquire the data of the customers? Large companies like Byju's can buy data from vendors. What's the best way to acquire data for founders, who are just about 1 or 2, or so really are very small in the market?
It's basically the call to action, I think. Okay, if I have understood that question correctly, if you want email ID of your subscribers or people who are or if you are talking about acquiring a lead, it happens through various channels like Google, Facebook, or your newsletters, your webinars, and maybe through you do your YouTube subscribers and all those things. So if you're talking about acquiring lead, there are various lead acquisition channels, and any data you acquire is through those channels only. Am I understanding the question right, or?
Yeah, you have. I do acquire in those ways. I do conduct webinars and things like that quite a lot. I go to schools and engage them. But if I have to if I have to have a cache of say about 1,000 schools in Karnataka, and I think I would do better to have a list of all the schools and have a list of all the contact details of what these schools are up to. Which schools, for example, have Atal Tinkering Labs, which schools are specially focused on science. Who the contacts are. This kind of data.
I don't think anything is publicly available. Nitin.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree, Santosh. I think that a lot of that data is not publicly available, and I just wanted to maybe clarify. Like, for example, we at Byju's don't procure databases, right?
Okay.
I talked about the Akash app, right? That app alone has like some 1 crore downloads. So pretty much the entire TAM of this 11, 12, 13 segment is sitting on the app, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think the way I'll answer your question is basically in 2 parts. For a B2B, like for example, you talked about 1,000 schools in Karnataka, right? In a specific area. If it's a B2B approach, then it is more about physically reaching out to those schools, offering a webinar, seminar, and then like being able to build that connect to be able to then penetrate deeper in those schools. If it is a B2C segment, like for example, I just want to reach out to say a certain region which has these 1,000 schools, then of course you have a lot of these Facebook, Google ad campaigns which can be targeted to a particular state. It can't be very so targeted to a particular region. It will just shoot up on your cost of acquisition significantly if you were to go so targeted. But for a specific state, you can actually create campaigns in local languages with some buzzwords for the category that you're sort of targeting to be able to get data around it.
With the speaker's permission, I hope it's okay if we continue the Q&A for another 10 minutes because we do have some more questions coming up. There's one on podcasts. Anybody has done podcasts, and how does podcast help? Is it a great customer acquisition channel?
So I'll just add one thing. For us, our students are running podcasts. It's more of a way to actually showcase your product. That's what we do. But I would like to listen from Nitin and Ravan, like they are running some podcasts.
Ravan?
Yeah, podcasts do definitely help because we also do a set of podcasts. It's more towards the engagement rather than acquisition. During the engagement phase, we conduct several master classes with the with prominent speakers across the industry. So since the podcast happen, you get to know a new personality. You understand their thought process and all. So podcasts definitely have a significant impact. So we have seen customers who have been very inactive. Some customers who have been inactive, and whenever there is a podcast, they definitely do attend the podcast, and then again get activated into the into the flow as well. So in that way, if you can't do n number of podcasts at a time, but you can use your podcast to activate your customers at different stages, and then add value to them as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned about conferences. We in fact are doing a TiE Global Summit in Hyderabad. How does conferences help? In fact, AWS Headstart did the TiDAC, they were involved with TiDAC. Any of you have been there, and how do you think one could leverage conferences?
Networking, very simple. Startups need networking. Okay, every founder, like I was in TiDAC. In fact, Suchit from Aspector is also in the call. So it's a great platform to network for founders at least.
So are there tools for networking? Because conferences, you have thousands of people. Webinars, seminars, it's more curated. But conferences, what kind of hacks have you used?
See, I'm not much aware of tools because interpersonal relationships are built in person, right? You need to be there in conferences. Like if it is an edtech company, at least you attend All-on-Cube, or you go and attend TiDAC, or you attend AWS Headstart, any kind of events they do. So it's conferences is more about connecting, networking. I don't see conference as a selling point, but yeah, definitely you will find a lot of high intent customers whom you can discuss, and pitch and all. And also network with other founders. Maybe Nitin, if you have any other view.
Yeah, have you done any contests, Nitin? Any activities, contests, quizzes, very sponsored events?
Yeah. So of course, I mean, that's like activities and contests are a very good way to sort of create a good top of the funnel. Just like before I go back on that, like on podcasts and conferences, at least we haven't tried it, but what I hear from Santosh and Revant, I think podcasts seem to be working. So, I would certainly want to give that a try. We've never tried podcasts across all our segments, like across, I'm sure the relevance of a podcast will probably be for like certain higher grades, but we've never tried it even for our lower grades as well. In terms of these, so in terms of your question, Vinay, see, our top of the funnel, our significant top of the funnel is basically an aptitude test, right? Typically for education, and maybe that is not relevant for, and I think that is relevant for school admission as well, because I remember when I got into school, I had to take a test to get into that school. So that is a very good sort of way to sort of, it's a good way for the institute or the educational company to sort of judge, or if not judge, but at least figure out in which strata of my batches do I need to put this consumer, right? So that I can put more or less focus depending on what is the current strength and weaknesses of that consumer. But yeah, contests are very common. So like, for example, like earlier this year, we did Aakash National Talent Hunt Examination, which is our flagship event. We had some 27 lakh students actually register for the examination. And this is just from like 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th courses, just about 4 grades. We had about some 27, 30 lakh students register and about 17 to 20 lakh students write the examination. And this is a scholarship entrance examination. So that I think is a very good way to sort of engage with consumer, get them to get exposed to the brand, what the ethos of the brand is, and then be able to come on as a full-time consumer.
Right. In fact, we are planning to do it during the TiE Global Summit. We're getting some talents to help us with videos, podcasts, interviews, and because a lot of people are there. So are there any more questions here? Or else I will hand it over to Dipali to do the closing notes for AWS. Anyone else would like to unmute themselves? There is one on
Vinay, there was one point, one question you had about tools at conferences, right? So I came across like one startup which was doing like Nearfi. It's the startup name is Nearfi. The app name is Nearfi in App Store. They are helping networking at any conferences, like any events. It helps it's a geo-based communication tool, and they're creating events and tribes within that app to help networking at a specific level.
Yeah. In fact, one of the learnings, so I'm involved with the conference event spaces. One of the learnings, in fact, Santosh had mentioned that people are very busy on the move. So it has to be super seamless and easy for people to make use of solutions. So I'll be happy to take a look at the Nearfi app that you've shared. There's one more last question I see on, is Facebook working? Because Vaibhav spoke about, shared about Facebook campaign performance. How's Facebook doing right now?
Should I take it?
Yeah, please.
It works in the K-3 segment, which is kindergarten to grade 3. So for lower grades, Facebook works. But I think it's at least what I'm able to see in data is that consumers are getting more and more aware of whether it's a like it's a good time investment or a bad time investment on Facebook, which is where like as you're getting more and more mature in life, you are sort of reducing the on time on the app or on the web. So like for lower grades, it works very well, but for as you move up the higher grades, it's difficult. Like the CACs hit the roof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people did mention they spent a lot and didn't get ROI from their Facebook campaign. So that's right.
Facebook is for totally different purpose. If you want to create awareness, not for getting leads. I don't want to comment anything. We have also got the fingers there. So Facebook doesn't work for lead acquisition at least. It's maybe if you want to create awareness, yeah, it works.
And finally,
I think we have seen better responses from Instagram as compared to Facebook.
So
Instagram and YouTube works really well. If you ask me, Instagram and YouTube, like video marketing.
Yeah, YouTube, true, exactly. Yeah,
these two works really well in terms of cost of acquisition.
How about LinkedIn? Have you been able to approach?
B2B LinkedIn is the best, but ours is a B2C consumer segment. But B2B, whatever I speak to founders, right? LinkedIn has worked really well, but it's not just like cold messaging, but you have to create your brand and people have to come and talk to you. So LinkedIn works in a different way altogether. B2B it works well, to be precise.
And we also used LinkedIn primarily, for customer engagement than customer acquisition, where we create a set of challenges for students, to post, to share the progress, the sort of outcomes they have built and all onto the LinkedIn, and that creates a sort of enthusiasm for the other students as well, to build different products as well. So LinkedIn has primarily helped us, in terms of in terms of customer engagement. And there are a few scenarios where some success stories have scaled out, has went very viral, and that's when again it turns towards customer acquisition.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating learnings, and we can just keep going on. And I'll hand it over to Dipali from the AWS EdStart team. Dipali, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vinay, and thank you everybody else for this webinar. This has been a really rich conversation. And we have a deadline, so we have to close it now. But I think that if we just kept talking, we would be going on for a while. And I really want to thank Santosh, Revant, and Nitin for giving your 2 cents on the topic. And now I'll talk a little bit about the EdStart program. I see a lot of familiar names here who are already part of the EdStart program. So I want to introduce this. It's a virtual accelerator program that AWS has launched to basically facilitate and help entrepreneurs, build the next generation of online learning, analytics, and campus management solutions on the AWS cloud. So we want to accelerate your growth. We want to provide the support that you need with your startup, be it technical, be it financial, or publicity related. So we we offer promotional credits. We conduct events such as this. So this was also a part of the EdStart program, where we call the founders and have a discussion on the topics that are relevant to the industry and your startup. And there are various other benefits related to it. I'm sharing a link in the chat. You can read up more about the program. So yeah, this is the website. You will see a tab there that says become a member. You can just fill in the form, send it to us. We will review your application and we can onboard you as a member. So in the future, if we conduct further such events, or we sponsor any conferences, or we conduct in-person events, we would send out the invites to you. And yeah, we can build a larger and bigger community of edtechs. So this is a global program. So we don't just have founders from India. We have founders, edtech founders from all over the world, collaborators and investors from all around the world. So if you join this program, you'll get access to a community portal that you can use, that has many resources that you can use to your benefit. I would also like to share my screen. If you can't, access the application from here, you can just scan this QR code. I hope you can see the screen. So you can just scan this QR code and you'll be able to apply for the application. And yeah, lastly, I would just like to thank everybody. Thank you, Vinay, for moderating this event. This was like a really good conversation that we all had here.
Thank you. I think we'll have more such sessions. Early next year, we're going to have a breakfast meet with some of the founders. It'll be so we're trying to mix online and offline, and looking forward to all of you joining us and being part of this. Thank you all once again. I hope you're able to scan the QR code, and we'll wind up in a minute. And look forward to staying connected with all of you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, team.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Take care.